Okay, so this news story literally just broke, and I promise you it is 100% real. It's going to sound insane, but I promise you, it's real. It's really real, and it's even worse than you think. Real news being reported right now. Here it is. The new president of Wizards of the Coast has stirred controversy within the Dungeons & Dragons community by announcing several significant changes to the game. These include the introduction of a baby dragon for each player, the restriction of playable races to dwarves, the return of Thaco, and the banning of wheelchair accessibility in dungeons and evil lairs. Additionally, the president has suggested reintroducing racial stereotypes, of all things, for certain races, sparking a heated discussion among players. The D&D community's reactions are mixed, with some players excited for the new direction and others criticizing the president's approach. Yeah, so, you know, just a normal Thursday. And like I said, this is actually a thing, and it's insane. So to give a little bit of context here, which I think we desperately need, it was recently leaked from Hasbro that Cynthia Williams, president of Wizards of the Coast and junior member of the Legion of Doom, will soon be leaving WotC and stepping down as president, which means that there's going to be a new president of Wizards of the Coast and presumably a new janitor at Legion of Doom. And this new president apparently really wants to shake things up, I guess. I mean, giving every single D&D player a baby dragon might be a pretty popular policy among the player base, but the logistics of it is something that I just don't understand. And I feel especially sorry for the DMs out there who are going to have to manage these parties of baby dragon-laden players in their upcoming games. I mean, pets are tough to manage in D&D at the best of times. I still have nightmares of that one time I played a necromancer in 3.5. I mean, sure, at first you think it's all gonna be fun in games to have a skeleton band play their ribs like a xylophone every combat, but then you remember the action economy, because it's all about the action economy. Yeah, those were some pretty long combats. But hey, at least we'll all be dwarves now, which is presumably something that someone somewhere wanted. I mean, how the hell do you even restrict playable races in D&D at this stage? Do you just remove them from all future books going forward? That's pretty ballsy. Kudos to restricting us all to playing dwarfs specifically, though. That's objectively the funniest race to be forced to play in D&D, and also the best way to get someone to actually roleplay the proper spirit of a dwarf. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. I hate all of you. I hate myself. Hey, now you're getting it. Now you're roleplaying a dwarf. Oh god. And I think most egregious of all, though, is the return of Thaco, the notorious armor system from AD&D, which sometimes gets mistaken for containing a lot of complicated math, but Thaco doesn't. It's just the unhinged ravings of a madman. Thaco was originally based on naval war games and has no real logic to it beyond the fact that the water in mid-20th century American homes was contaminated with lead. And I'm aware that I just lost a lot of subscribers with that last comment, so instead, I guess, my opinion on Thaco is, don't worry, the people secretly cry out for Thaco. They raise secret toasts to its counterintuitive bullshit, and they secretly knit Thaco to hit tables into scarves so they can recognize one another in the street and finally organize themselves to put Thaco back into the next edition of Dungeons & Dragons. There we go. That ought to placate a lot of people. I mean, it usually works on my grandpa when he's having a lucid moment. I have to say, though, the new policy that really stood out to me most of all was the banning of accessible dungeons, which is something that, I mean, I don't even know how you go about that, short of slamming a big text box on the front of the new DM's guide with the words, "No people with disabilities allowed," which I can't imagine going down too well at Waterstones. But hey, at least Hasbro are bringing back racial stereotypes, huh? Which, I mean, I'll be honest, for a lot of tables, those never really went away, at least until we banned Dave from using shoe polish during the game. Overall, personally though, I'm not the biggest fan of the new regime, but it's good to know that according to the news article, fan feedback is mixed. So maybe Hasbro will take that on board. Okay, so what the hell then is going on in Dungeons and Dragons right now? Well, I have to come clean. The thing about this news story is, well, it's a real story. It was reported, but it's not quite true. It did, however, get onto the pages of big RPG news websites, Reddit and Twitter and more, and how it got there is actually really interesting and makes me worried about the future, especially my future, and whether or not we're all going to be replaced. That sounds pretty bad. Almost as bad as that time when AT&T accidentally leaked the details of over 73 million current and former customers onto the dark web. A little bit of a screw up there. This is obviously really bad because there is an entire network of data brokers who just love to sell data to scammers, spammers, and whammers? Yeah, so all those AT&T customers, they're gonna be hearing from a whole lot of robocallers and might even find that their social media accounts have been sending some very rude messages even when they're logged out. Luckily, there is a solution because today's video is sponsored by Aura. Aura helps stop data brokers from taking all your information and selling it to scammers and hackers by proactively tracking your data online and preventing its sale. And even better, when all that data was leaked by AT&T, their recommendation to customers was to monitor your account activity, use strong passwords, consider credit freezes and fraud alerts from credit bureaus. But guess what? Aura already does all this, and you don't even have to download several different apps just because a company screwed up and couldn't keep your data secure. And let me tell ya, if there's one thing that I've learned covering D&D over the last year, it's that companies screw up a lot. Luckily, Aura is always on and always keeping your data safe. So if you value your privacy, you can go to aura.com/dungeons to start your 2-week free trial. Also linked in the description below. And get your internet survival tools and support the channel. And a massive thanks to Aura for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so to clarify, it is true that Cynthia Williams is leaving Hasbro, and there will be a new president of Wizards of the Coast soon. That news story broke last week, and it was broken by Rascal, a very legitimate, very good RPG news website. But after that pretty big news story broke, a meme was started by the youth. I mean, as they often do. Am I right? Am I right, guys? I'm down with the kids. Charlie bit my finger. And as part of this meme, people began to tweet that they were Cynthia Williams' new replacement, that they were the new president of Wizards of the Coast. And in lots of these tweets, these posters presented their new policies. New policies like returning the harlot table to Dungeons and Dragons, which, by the way, was a very real thing. Turns out, in first edition Dungeons & Dragons, Gary Gygax thought it was very important that we have a tool to generate random encounters with a prostitute, and potentially her pimp. Pretty reasonable. After all, it's hard for a DM to tell whether or not the upcoming level 3 encounter should be with a cheap trollop or a wanton wench. Classic adventuring party mischief. There was a ton of other policies proposed by potential presidents as well, such as here with the new WotC president Bud of Bud's RPG review fame, who has declared that he's scrapping Dungeons and Dragons and moving everything over to Warhammer Fantasy RPG, which honestly is probably a little bit of an upgrade, but we'll have to wait and see how the Hasbro stock shareholders take that news. Oh, and also, haven't you heard? Every single class with spells is getting removed, except paladins. And initiative is now going to be based on how edgy your character is, so plump up those skunk haircuts. At least thieves should be okay. And of course, there was people proposing of baby dragons free for every player, dwarfs becoming the only playable race, etc, etc. Tons and tons and tons of tweets like this, and oh, they were hilarious, we all had fun, we had a giggle, nice and harmless, right? Well, yes, that is, until all these memes were summarized and posted unironically to the entirety of the internet as actual news on the Explore feature of Twitter, declaring that the new president of WotC has some controversial new policies. How the hell did this happen? Well, this snuck through because the Explore feature is surprise, surprise, run by AI, a bot called Grok. And this AI was created to cover controversy and news on the Twitter website as it happens. And it misinterpreted all these memes as official statements from Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, so suddenly I'm a lot less worried about Cyberdyne Systems taking over, and also a lot more worried about Cyberdyne Systems taking over. A lot less evil than we thought, a lot more incompetent though. And these memes obviously would not have passed the sniff test of anyone reasonable, but frankly, I gotta say, I think I prefer Grok's version of reality, apart from all the eugenics stuff. And I love that the AI picked out the idea of banning wheelchair accessible dungeons for particular laser focus, because for some reason in the D&D community, the idea of an adventurer in a wheelchair just really annoys a lot of people, and I have no idea why. I mean, sure, historically, castles and dungeons weren't really designed with accessibility in mind, but you know, they also weren't filled to the brim with traps. That's just a thing that we stole from Indiana Jones. And look, this story is hilarious. I thought this was so funny when I saw this, so I really wanted to cover it. Firstly, because it is hilarious, and secondly, because the image of this news story has been making the rounds, and I have seen some people taking it seriously and sort of losing their mind and panicking. So this is my PSA. This is a troll. It's an error, an official troll and an official error, but you know, still a troll and error. Hasbro aren't getting rid of wheelchair accessible dungeons. We're not going to be forced to play dwarfs. It's still really funny to me. I mean, how would they enforce this? They could start making tunnels, like specify the height. It's a 5 foot by 5 foot by 5 foot tunnel. Still though, all this demonstrates the need for real life humans on the other end of these news stories. I don't think we can replace people with AI just yet. And if you think so too, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/discoursminiatures. If this video made you laugh, you'll get a free game, bonus videos, exclusive live streams, and more. And you'll be supporting the channel. Thanks for watching, and thanks to all my patrons, especially CryptoKev, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye bye.